Mr. Ogami, you can start it.
Sir.
You can start.
Okay.
Anthony.
Yeah. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
You are welcome to professional APS Professionals. This is the week 2 of our 4th class. Please kindly mute.
Mr. Ahmed, please go on mute.
Please mute yourself, please. Mr. Joshua.
I'll remove them. I've removed
them. The person is disturbing the class, please.
I already removed the person.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
On YouTube.
So this is our week 2 of 4th class. You can see the diet is gradually moving. So if you are still doubting if you are writing or not, if you are the paper you are going to write, I think you need to do that as fast as possible so that you join the moving train. Tonight, we'll be looking at the economic environment of business. Then this will be our outline for the class. We look at the key component of the economic environment. We look at the evaluation of the major macroeconomic policy targets, the importance of the macroeconomic policy, the role of the physical, monetary, interest rate, and exchange rate in achieving macroeconomic policy targets. Then we look at the assessment of the influence of government economic policy on business decision making. Now, the economic environment of business. The meaning of economic environment of business is the external factors that is capable of affecting the operation decision making within the organization. That is all external factors that is capable of influencing our decisions during our operations. All the area concerning the organization, all the external factors that is capable of influencing that decision that we can make within the organization. If the factors is for instance is economic, let's look at this like inflation now, if the inflation is a key factors that is affecting our decision, then we need to, then it's an external factors, then we need to look at it and see how we can manage it. Then what are the key components of the economic environment? We look at the economic system. Economic system comprised of capitalist, mixed economic, command economic. Then what is capitalist market? This is a market that has a lesser government intervention. That is, there is a kind of government does not intervene in this kind of market. Government does not have control. They have lesser control during the supply of any product within the market. Is the market has free entry and exit. The government does not intervene in both the demand and supply within the market. The mixed economy comprised of both private and government regulation. Government regulate it, then private to also participate in it. Command economy, government control the major aspect of economic production in this part of the economy. Example of this type of command economy is like our fuel now. Mostly government regulate it. That okay, you cannot say above this rate. This is the rate you can say. Even though some are still selling beyond the government rate, like NMPC now. NMPC does not have the power to sell above the specific rate given to them by government. There are other organization, there are other economic like that government regulate their operations. Like there are other, for instance, now those that work in within the forest build the change, like other non-other financial institutions, they give them the rate that they are meant to sell their forest. At times, CBN will give them, like, you should not sell above like 2% above the cost rate. You should not sell more than 1% or 1.5% above a certain rate. They give them a benchmark. So government majorly control that part of market. Then economic condition of the market. Economic condition of the market, like growth. When GDP rise, consumer demand increase, and business expand. What is even the GDP? GDP is gross domestic product. That is the monetary value of goods and services produced within the in the country within a particular period of time. Now, if the GDP rise, then the consumer demand more, because they have more supply. So if the GDP rise, the consumer demand increase and business expand. Then recession. If there is a economic recession, majority of people hold on to their money. Nobody will want to spend money, because nobody want to invest. Nobody want to do transactions because the economy is on the recession side, and people tend to lose their job. Then the majority of the organization will be incurring loss or having a lower profit. In the inflation, a general rise in price affecting purchasing power. We all know this one, that once there is inflation in the system, the purchasing power of the currency will low, because you take more of your money to buy lesser quantity. May and you know that before now, what we are buying with the amount we used to buy our crate of egg is not the same thing now. That means the purchasing power of our currency now and that time is not the same thing. That means our currency has a bit losing that purchasing power. Then interest rates. Interest rate is one of tools that government use to regulate the total money in circulation within the bank. For instance, now, if CBN want to reduce the money within the bank, they can increase the interest rates. And once the interest rates increase, then borrowing costs slowing down, and the investors too will not want to invest, because there is the cost of borrowing is too high. You cannot borrow at 10% now and go and do and go and invest in a kind of business that will give you lesser than your cost of your interest. If you are getting interest rate of 10%, it then means what you invest that money for should be something that will give you above that 10%. Then exchange rate. Exchange rate is a kind of the rate at which a particular currency is exchanging for another currency. If for instance now, if our naira now, if we need 1,000, 2,000 to take $1, it then means our own currency is not as strong as a US dollar. If you need 1,000 US dollar to get our own 1 naira, it then means our own 1 naira is stronger than US dollar. So interpreting this one now, affecting international trade and competitiveness. A strong currency can reduce export competitive. That means a weak currency boosts exports. That means if our currency is very weak, then we tend to depend more on exports because our own currency is weak now. So we tend to export more goods from outside the country. Government economic policy, fiscal policy, taxation and government spending decision. Both fiscal policy and monetary policy, they are kind of policy that is made within the CBN during their monetary policy committee. This kind of committee always come on every quarter of the year, and majorly the policy they make there is fiscal policy and monetary policy. And the fiscal policy has to do with the taxation part of the policy and the inflation part of it. Then the monetary policy will look like a kind of interest rates that a CBN will be giving to the bank, then controlling the total money within the circulation. Then the global economic factors. Generally, if there is a kind of global recessions, there is nothing anybody can do. The international economic will definitely be affected. Then, if there is a kind of agreement between two countries, like ECOWAS now, Nigeria can comfortably trade with other Africa countries. That is what they call a kind of trade barrier, removing trade barrier within the African country. Global trade trends, commodity price, and international economic agreements influence local business. Then global recessions and boom affect export demand and foreign investments. Then generally the market demand and supply. Generally the market demand and supply affect our decision. If the demand of a particular product is reduced in the market, then the market is capable of determining the price of those of that product. Then if the supply is if you can find the product almost everywhere in the market, then you cannot control the price, because everywhere has that product. If you say your own is 20 naira, the person can as well go to another place and get that the same product, even at a cheaper rate. So because of the supply now, you cannot control you cannot determine the price. So majorly demand and supply determine the price of the market, of the product, sorry. Then the supply chain disruption or cost impact, availability, and profit margin. Then let us now evaluate the major macroeconomic policy targets. What are the things we need to look out for in the macroeconomic policy targets? If there's a kind of policy within the macroeconomic, what are the things we need to look out for? Macroeconomic policy targets are the key objectives that government and central bank aim to achieve to ensure a stable and growing economy. These targets help guide fiscal, monetary, trade, and other economic policy. The major macroeconomic policy targets include the following. Now, what are the things we need to look out for in every macroeconomic policy? You look at the economic growth. Economic growth of a macroeconomic policy. This is an increase in the production of goods and services. That is the GDP. You look at the sustainability of that growth. The growth we are witnessing today in this country, then is it sustainable for the next 20, 30 years? Or is it something that we will just only enjoy for the next 3 or 6 months? There was a particular period of time that the country need to borrow funds to sustain naira. Somebody was asking them that for how long are you going to be borrowing from outside the country to sustain your own naira? Instead of that, looking for remove the look for something you can do within here that will not make you to go and be borrowing money, whereas you still sustain the naira. But all through the period, they will keep borrowing money to sustain the naira because they don't want the naira to lose value. So they keep borrowing money in foreign currency and give it to those that want to import, those that want to pay school fees. They give it to some set of people to be traded so that the naira will not lose value. That is why during a period of President Jonathan, they were able to maintain a level of a kind of stability within naira. But immediately after they removed subsidy, because a majority of all this USD they were giving to banks, to government has subsidized it. So immediately they removed subsidy on those majority of every product in Nigeria now. The naira started losing value. So you look at the sustainability of the growth. If the growth is sustainable enough, fine. Then if the growth is not something that is sustainable, then you look for something that is sustainable. Majorly, what you look for in every economic growth is sustainability of that growth. Then full employment. Sincerely, full employment is a kind of a situation whereby every individual that has capacity, that is able to work, is able to secure a job for himself, 100%. That means every single person that has the capacity to work is able to secure one. But unfortunately, I don't think there is any country that can offer 100% full employment. So, but it is reasonable within, if you can reduce the employment rate to between 4 to 6%, fine. But even the 4 to 6% is not realistic. So price stability is a situation whereby they are able to keep country inflation to a reasonable level. That is, if I thought there's going to be a kind of increase or decrease in it should be at a very minimal level. It should be at a infinitesimal rate. That is, the gap should not be too much. If I want to buy something today now, I buy something of 20 naira today. If I want to go to the market to go and buy the same thing next month, at least the difference between now and that next month should not be too wide. Unlike now that you buy something now today, if you go the next tomorrow, the gap will be too wide. You will now be wondering that what is happening just because I came here last week to buy the same thing. Now why is the price going up now? It is because they were unable to stabilize the price. So those are the things you look for. You look for in economic that is growing. That how stability is their price, how stability is their inflation. If the inflation is not, then to achieve that economic growth is not realistic. Then what can they do? Look at the moderate inflation. If the inflation is around 2%, fine, then it's healthy. But is it achievable? Is it realistic? No. Then hyperinflation. Deflation is an adverse of inflation when generally the price of goods and services keep falling. Nobody will want to do business. Nobody will want to spend, because if I want to produce something now and I have a cost of production of 20 naira today, that means tomorrow now the cost of that production now will reduce. Now it will now be difficult for me to determine the price, because what if the cost of production I use to determine price today, then the following day the price has gone up again? Will I be changing my price almost every day? It's not possible. It's not possible. Then balance of payment stability. The balance of payment is a kind of difference between government spending, government inflow and outflow within a particular period of year. To check the you compare the government inflow and the outflow during the year. Then the difference between the two will give you your balance of payments. Then what you look out for a current account deficit. If the country is experiencing deficit, that means they depend more on imports. That means they pay more. Then current account surplus. This is a kind of competitive, but at the same time, this can still lead to trade tension anyway. Equitable distribution of income and wealth. This has to do with fairness. That is, those that will be benefiting from the growth of the country, the distribution should be fair enough. It's not a situation whereby the richer will be getting richer, whereby the poorer will be getting poorer, or the wealth of a country will be channeled towards a particular area or channeled towards a particular region, whereby the other area will not be benefiting from it. So, what are the things you need to look out for if the distribution of income and wealth is distributed equally? Excessive inequality can fuel crime, unrest, and reduce economic participation. In a country whereby there is a kind of crime everywhere, where there's the economic participation is reducing every day, then go and look. There are some certain set of people that they are feeling cheated. That no, why would I be treating like this? No, I can't take this one. I can't take this one. Let anything happen. So that is why you see majority of people that will be getting anger, because they feel cheated in the distribution of income and wealth. A good example of this equitable distribution of income and wealth is, for example, though it's not something you can use for an exam purpose, but let us flow along with it together and see how, for instance, now, me and you now, we know that if you want to, if there is a traffic light, for instance, you committed a traffic light offense, and you are so sure that if I beat this traffic now, nobody will, at least I'm free. Nobody can come and arrest me. Nobody can. So you want to take that risk and say, let me zoom off. At least once I beat this lane, I'm off here. And we have the same caliber set of people, the high and mighty within this country, that despite the traffic light, they will still go. And once the last man see them, they will still beg, oh, God, sir, you will allow them to go. So people will believe that we are not treated equally in this country. So those that is feeling cheated will feel like, no, I will not take this one. Let anything happen. They want to spoil anything, then disturb organizations in their operations. Then exchange rate stability. Like I told you before, that there is a particular period of time that government need to borrow funds to sustain naira. So in order to stabilize the exchange rate, they will want to give them a condition that you should not sell above this rate, and we are giving you at this rate. That rate that they are giving them is at a subsidized rate. They are doing all this one to stabilize the rate, so that you will not go to the market today and say you want to use naira to exchange for US dollar today at let's say 1,650, and tomorrow they say no, it is not more 1,650, it is 3,000 naira. You say, just yesterday. It's because the rate is not stable. So when the exchange rate is too volatile, it will not be easy for anybody to predict what will happen in the system. It will not be easy for anybody to do transactions. Then let us look at importance of economic policy, macroeconomic policy. You have this one as many as you can. Just pick between 6 and 7, you are good to go. The importance of macroeconomic policy: it improves standard of living, it reduces poverty, it increases government revenues and development, promotes business confidence and investments. This one does not require too much explanation. At least the majority of you know this one. Just to bring it out for you. Then enhance economic output, reduce dependency of government welfare. It helps to maintain and purchasing power of money. Encourage of investments and savings. Reduce uncertainty in the economy. Protect low-income households. Please mute yourself, sir. You are disturbing the class. Protect low-income household from cost of living increases. Ensure currency stability. Prevent excessive reliance on foreign debt or reserve. Promote social stability and justice. Reduce inequality treatment. Control imported inflation. Then let us now look for the role of all this fiscal, monetary, interest, and exchange rate policy. Let us now look the role they play in achieving all this objective. To achieve macroeconomic policy targets such as economic growth, price stability, employment generation, and stable balance of payments, government and central bank use various policy tools. Our fiscal policy, monetary policy, interest rate policy, and exchange rate policy play crucial roles achieving these targets. Now, let us now look, how does the fiscal policy work, operate? What is the role in achieving those objectives? Normally, we know our fiscal policy is just the policy that is CBN make to regulate the inflation and tax and the likes. So the roles they play the role of economic growth through increased government spending, infrastructure and services boost investments. Then also employment, public sector jobs and demand stimulus reduce unemployment. Fiscal policy also play a role in price stability. It reduces excessive government spending and increased taxes, helps control inflation. Then fiscal policy also play a role through external balance. Fiscal discipline can reduce budget deficit, strengthen investors' confidence and exchange rates. Then the monetary policy, like I told you, monetary policy is a kind of a policy that CBN make on every quarter. During this meeting, they determine the total money that is supposed to be, they regulate the total money in circulation during the year. Then let us now look the role, the price stability, tight monetary policy. That is, if they want to regulate the price, it's a matter of just increase the rate at which they are giving to commercial bank. Once they increase the interest rate we are giving to commercial bank, automatically the bank will increase their interest rates given to their customer. That means the cost of borrowing will increase and nobody will want to go borrow more. So they have more money in circulation. So the reverse is when they want when they want more money in circulation, they reduce the rate. Then people will bring their money to come and invest. Interest rate policy. This refers to the manipulation of benchmark interest rates, just like the way I told you. CBN make a policy that, okay, once I am giving you this rates, then you should not give out more at no more than this rate. So they use that interest rate to regulate how much the bank is going to be giving their customer, all their customer, all the cost of borrowing. If they want to control it, they use the interest rate. If they want to increase the cost of borrowing within the bank and the customer, they increase the CBN will increase the cost, the interest rate given to them. Automatically, people will not bring their money. People will not bring their money. People will not want to borrow money. And if they want people to bring more money into the circulation, they will just reduce the interest rate. So once they reduce the interest rate given to the bank, automatically people will want to do money because they want to borrow money because of the low interest rates given to them. Policy. Policy, the management of currency value relative to others currency. I've told you this one. This is a situation whereby a particular currency is exchanging for another currency. So the one that has a stronger one will determine what is happening in the market. So in the market growth, I've said something like this before. The weak domestic currency make export cheaper and more competitive value. If our currency is weak now, then it makes export cheaper and more competitive globally. The inflation control, a stronger currency reduce import price. Foreign reserve. Poor management can help maintain adequate foreign reserve and stabilize the balance. This one, government need to manage their reserve very well. There was a particular period that government can no longer borrow money to sustain naira, so they need to be taking money from the reserve to sustain naira. So they are taking hard currency to sustain naira. So the reserve is going down almost every day that period. Not until when they stop giving dollar to importers, when they stop all this from A, from B, and the likes. So that is when the reserve is booming again. So they need to manage their foreign reserve very well. Then capital flow, exchange rate stability attract foreign investments. Yeah. I want to believe everybody in class or am I in a class? Yeah. Hello, are we still together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We are hearing you.
Yes,
Okay. Sorry,
Yes, sir,
I
we
need
can hear
to
you.
be,
Yes, sir.
We can hear you, sir.
so I need to be confirming so that it will not be a situation whereby my network has gone off in the last 30 minutes. So assessing the influence of government economic policy on business decision. This has to do with how does government policy affect our business. I'm very sure there was a particular period of time that everybody is waiting for for ICANN to check their syllabus before we can make a decision on what paper do we write, how do we write, which paper am I writing, which one would they allow me to write this video. So there is a position like that in the government that people will need to wait for government to make a certain policy, whereby government people will organization will need to wait for government end of the year budget before they make a certain decision. So government economic policies such as fiscal policy, monetary policy, taxation, trade policy, and regulatory framework have a significant impact on business operation and strategic decision making. The policies create the environment in which business operates and influence key factors like cost, demand, investment, decision, and profitability. So what are the policy and how does it affect business decision making? Now, for like fiscal policy now, I've told you several times, I want to be, so that you'll be familiar with this fiscal policy of 18. Fiscal policy is a kind of policy whereby government determine what the rate will be, what the taxation will be for the year, for a particular country. So now the impact of fiscal policy on business. The tax rates affect business profits. Everybody know that. Before we are using 30% as company tax rate now. Before it was it 25 or 28 thereabout. Then education was 2.5, later 3, then 3.5. Then there was a time they changed the VAT too. So those are the policies that one need to look out for. How is it going to affect our decision? Obviously, tax rates affect business profits because that one is eating profit directly. So, like if they increase corporate tax now, obviously the company profit will reduce, and if the corporate tax reduce, then the corporate profit will increase. Then government spending on infrastructure, health, and education can stimulate demand and create a business opportunity. This one, if there are some areas whereby if government is able to create infrastructure, the economic of that area will improve. There are some area that is like that is lacking health issues, that they need like health center there. That once they have health center, people will move to that area. And there are some areas that lack good road. That once they have good road, people will move to that area, and economic of that area will improve. So that is one of the area that affects organization in making their business, in where to locate their business. Do they have that the facility, the infrastructure they actually want for their organization? Do they have it in that area? So those are the decisions they need to make in locating their business operation. Then you need to look out for the kind of business you want to go into. Is it a kind of business that has a government subsidies? Is it a kind of business that can give you a kind of grant from government? You need to towards your investment towards a particular sectors. Then decision on location, pricing, investment, and expansion are influenced by past incentives. So there are some decisions that you make that will give you a kind of tax incentives. So those are the area where fiscal policy is impacting a business decision. Now let us now look at monetary policy now. I've told you before, monetary policy is a kind of policy whereby CBN used to determine, to control the total money in circulation. And this kind of policies, CBN usually make it have their MPC meeting quarterly every year. So now let us look at the impact on business. Changes in interest rates affect the cost of borrowing and consumer spending. If you know that if you enter to the bank today, if you change your money at a particular rate today, and you are not sure of changing it at the same rate next tomorrow, probably the rate will have gone up. Then to go and borrow, you take it twice to go and borrow, because cost of borrowing will have increased and affect your decision. So you need to be on a lookout for a kind of changes in interest rates. Then tight monetary policy. A tight monetary policy is a kind of high interest rates, and this can slow down economic activities and reduce demand. When interest rate is very high, nobody will want to borrow and nobody will want to do business. Influence investment decision, especially in capital-intensive industries. Yes. Determines how business and finance operations. Monetary policy will determine what will be your capital mix. Like, is it going to be a combination of debt and equity, or is it going to be full equity or debt to loan? Though debt to loan will give you a kind of idea, but you still need to determine that one. That if the interest is very low, fine, you can go and borrow. At least I have if the cost of borrowing is very cheap, then you go for it. So it's one of the issues you need to watch out for. If the policy is friendly and the cost of borrowing is less, then you go for it.
Actually, I didn't know.
Then exchange rate policy. Exchange rate policy. I've told you before that exchange rate is a kind of is at the rate at which a particular currency is exchanging for another currency. So let us now look the impacts of that exchange rate on business decision. Affect the cost imported inputs and exports competitiveness. A stable exchange rate encourages foreign trade and investment. Obviously, once the exchange rate is stable, I'm so sure that if I transact today with you today, and everybody is fine with that rate, then obviously when I'm coming next time, I've already gotten the rate. There's no reason for me to think if the rate is going to change, since the rate is stable, since the exchange rate of that country is stable. Then there's no reason for me to think otherwise. Once I have already gotten the rate, if I thought the rate is going to change, it's going to be something reasonable. There must not be a kind of wider gap between in the exchange rates. It shouldn't be there too dynamic. If I transact with you at 1,650 today, if I want to transact with you next time, the gap should not be too much. So the exchange rate should be stable enough. The export may increase, reduce production based on exchange rate strength. Importer adjust procurement and price strategies. If the exchange rate is too volatile, then the procurement, the reliability is tend to not stable, because what I'm going to buy today, if I'm going to the market next time, because of the exchange rate, it may not be the same price. So it will be giving me a kind of procurement issue, and pricing strategy will not be a kind of easy for me to determine. Then multinational firms make location and sourcing decisions based on currency. If company want to locate their business now, they want to locate their business in a country where they have a kind of stable exchange rate. Nobody will want to go to a country where they don't have a stable exchange rate. There was a particular period that people, they say there are some country living, there are some company leaving the country because of they having high cost of production. These are the likely things that is tend to happen when the exchange rate is not stable. Then trade policy. I've mentioned something like this trade policy before, where a kind of there is a kind of agreement between two countries on doing a transactions together, that if Nigeria want to have that is a kind of removing a trade barrier between two countries. I think there is a kind of word for it inside tax. Is it treaty or what? I can't really remember now. So affect access to international markets and competition from foreign firms. Protectionist policy may shelter local business but increase costs. Free trade agreement expand market access and reduce operation costs. That is, if I can bring my goods and services to another country and sell it, if a citizen of Liberia can come to Nigeria and work easily, there are some Nigerians now that are leaving the country to go and work in another country, and they earn better. And because they are paying them lesser now, they are paying them lesser there. So the cost of their production will reduce. Then business may relocate production to benefit from favorable trade zone. Like for instance, now there is a when the government said if you want to start your agriculture now, come to Ministry of Land and Survey, come and take a license, and they will allocate land for you. Obviously, if you truly want to do farming, you can go there, say take a license, get your land allocation, and start your something, and that will reduce your costs. So everybody want to relocate their production to where there is favorable trade zones. Labor and regulatory policies. Impact on business. Minimum wage law, labor protections, and workplace regulation influence hiring and operations. Obviously, when there is a kind of a law that regulates how much you pay your staff, what is the post-employment scheme that is available to your staff. If there is a kind of law, then it will influence hiring and the operations. When you know you cannot treat your staff anyhow, then you want to since you want to work within the regulations, within the law. So the way you treat your staff, then the kind of influence you have on them will be very minimal. The environmental and safety regulation affect cost and compliance strategies. Impact on human resources planning and cost structures. Companies may invest in automation or training to adapt. regulatory complexity may affect entry and exit from certain markets. Once the regulatory of a particular market is too rigid or is too difficult, then the entry and exit of that market will not be easy. For instance, now that CBN said all banks should go and recapitalize, obviously not every bank will meet up with that capitalization. And if anybody wants to enter into banking industry now, obviously the person will be looking at that huge minimum capital that you need to meet up with. That means to enter will not be easy. And those that are there now, nobody wants to lose their license. But to meet up with that capitalization is not something that is that easy. So once the regulatory of a certain market is very rigid, then the entry and exit may not be also easy. Industry and investment policy.
We are here, Reno.
Industry and investment policy. Impact on business. Direct investment into priority sectors like technology, agriculture, oil and gas. This may offer tax holidays, land access, or credit support for targeted industry. Encourages businesses to align with government priorities. Influences research and development and product development choices. Impact log and planning and sector specific investments. So, class, according to the topic for today, this is all what I have. If there is any question, let us ask your question now. Let me see if there's any answer. Mr. Joshua, are we still together?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay.
I'm with you.
So I think based on the cost allocation, I think this is
Okay, so
where
I can see someone is raising up. Okay, I can see some hands. So,
okay,
so
Mr.
let's
Adeyinka, Mr. Adeyinka, please go ahead with your question, sir.
All right. Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, I want to ask a question. In exam, will it be advisable?
Okay.
I don't, this is a new course, and
Yes, sir.
we are trying to read up any materials that we can lay our hands on.
Yes, sir.
Can we group this economic environment, all the factors listed? Can we group them into maybe internal and external, like we have in some other courses where we have internal business environment and external business environment?
Hey. Sincerely, what we have in other material you are talking about, I'm sure you will see financial environment, business environment, economic environment there. Abi,
Yes, sir.
looking at this one is narrowing towards economic environment. Sincerely, no knowledge is waste. If you know that one, fine. But looking at this course now, the context of that course is narrowing towards economic environment business. It is not financial environment, it is not business environment, but economic environment. Having it, know it, there's nothing wrong about it. But based on the syllabus, based on the course is channeled towards economic environment of business. not financial environment. Have I answered your question, sir?
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Mr. Ogundipe Esther.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma.
Thank you very much for the lecture, sir. Please, I want to ask, you mentioned Form A the other time. Is it a
I mentioned what?
macroeconomic Form A? The issue of Form A.
Okay.
Form A, yes, sir. I want you to throw more light on it. Is it a macroeconomic instrument, or how does it
No.
maybe
Where is not it's not one of tools using in macroeconomic. One of tools they use is fiscal policy, monetary policy. That is where they determine interest rate, taxation, then the total money in circulations. From here is just I just use from here as an example when CBN is trying to use it as one of the monetary policy to reduce the rate at which our own naira is depreciating, because that time they were borrowing funds to sustain naira, and they need to build our own reserve that time. So in order to build our own reserve, they need to cut all area where all this money is going through. And that time they were giving forest to bank, they were giving forest to importers, they were giving forest to BDCs too. So those that import, they get their own forest through Form A, Form A or Form B or thereabout. So those is not one of the tools, but those are the areas. I'm only using that one as an example so that you have a better understanding of it. But it is not one of the tools. One of the tools CBN uses is fiscal policy and monetary policy.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So, you're welcome, sir. You're welcome, ma'am.
Mr. Sulaiman, thank you very much for that. So
Yes,
I just checked the chat box on YouTube, and I'm seeing a question there. So let me just read out the question. If someone is asking that you throw more light on the difference between monetary policy and fiscal policy.
Fiscal policy is a kind of policy where CBA make to regulate the tax and the inflation in the system. While monetary policy is a kind of policy where CBN use to regulate the total money in circulation and then determine what will be credit rate within the banking sectors. In fiscal policy, the kind of policy they make in that area is what will be the tax, then at what rate the inflation should be. They want to achieve the inflation of to reduce the inflation to certain percent. What can they do to reduce that inflation? Those are the policy they make in that area. Whereas in the monetary policy, the kind of policy they make there is how much do we want to have in circulation? We want to maintain 100 billion in circulation. Then how do we do it? Where do we have excess? How do we reduce the money in circulation? Okay, let us increase rates. If you increase rates, people will not bring in, people will not do business, and they will be able to regulate the money in circulation. Then another thing they make in monetary policy is they determine what will be the credit rate at which CBN is giving, the rate at which CBN is giving commercial bank. For instance, now if CBN say, okay, interest rate should be 20%, I'm very sure no bank will give, will offer loan to their customer less than that 20%. Obviously, it will be more than 20%. So those are the kind of policy they make in that area. In monetary policy, the kind of policy they make there is has to do with the money in circulations and the credit to the bank. Then in fiscal policy, the kind of policy they make there is what will be the inflation level and the taxation. So have I answered the person's question, sir?
Yes, thank you for that. I think that is enough justice to the question. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
that.
Yes, sir. So is there any other person in the here to ask question?
So I'm not seeing any question from there.
Okay. On that regard, Mr. Joshua, can I close my door here?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sulaiman. We really appreciate you for your time and how far you have brought us this night. Guys, everyone, can we? Okay, I'm seeing someone's hands up.
Mr.
Uluwatoyin.
Yes, let me use Uluwatoyin.
Your hand is up. Do you have a question?
Mr. Ẹni Ọlọ́run dá Uluwatoyin. Ọlọ́run ló dé mi náà.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your impact.
Yes. You're welcome, sir.
Yes, sir. You talked about the fiscal policy. Please,
yes, sir.
Can you please expatiate on that fiscal policy?
Fiscal policy, yeah, is a kind of policy where CBN make a policy on interest, inflation, and taxation, and both the fiscal policy and monetary policy, is a kind of tools that CBN use to determine what is happening in the system. And this kind of policy, they do make the those policy every quarter of the year during their monetary policy committee. And in that committee, they will determine what will be the fiscal policy. In that fiscal policy, they determine at what level should we maintain our inflation rates. Then what will be our tax, corporate tax at every particular area. What should be our VAT? What should be the corporate tax? What should be the education tax? Where can we improve our tax? Then how do we channel the tax? From which area can we extend our tax to? Recently now, you can see there is a lot of changes in the Nigeria tax system. All this thing is a fiscal policy. Then,
is it interest?
Is it what?
Interest rate or expenditure and taxation?
Interest rate and taxation.
Not expenditure and taxation.
Not expenditure and taxation.
All right, Mr. Sulaiman, thank you. So let me just come in here and add a bit to this. So in a nutshell, right, both monetary policy and fiscal policy, they are like economic policy or tools that the government, uses from time to time to regulate whatsoever happens in the economy, whatsoever happens in the system. The main aim is to bring sanity and sure that everything is going in the right direction, as laid down in the broad economic objective of the country. Both monetary and fiscal policy have their different motive, depending on what the government is trying to, achieve at the same time. So when we are looking at, say, okay, we want to regulate money supply, I want to regulate interest rates to achieve some macroeconomic objective, there is need for the government to engage some monetary policy tools, which can be like, open market operation, reserve requirements, liquidity rates, and like that. But when it comes to fiscal policy, what the government is looking at is to regulate the rate at which the taxation comes in, the rate at which the taxation is being charged, so as to modify the economy. And it doesn't stop there. It goes further to also look at the various spending of the government, ranging from, okay, what are we getting? What are we spending? How are we spending it? What is the strategic direction? So all these put together will help the government ascertain a certain objective. So in a nutshell, both monetary policy and fiscal policy are tools that serve the regulatory oversight of the economy, which the central bank is in charge. So I think that is just the 1 cent from my end here. So thank you very much, Mr. Sulaiman.
You're welcome, sir.
Do you still have any other question for Mr. Sulaiman? I hope that answers your question. I think someone asked the question. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think there's anybody.
Thank you, sir.
Raising up again. There is one person here. Mr. What is this? Mr. QA.
Oh, I'm saying it now. There's one Mr. QA.
Yes.
Mr. QA, if it's
Mr.
also
QA, please go ahead with your
go ahead and ask your question. You can see your hand. The hand is up. So we are not hearing from Mr. QA, so we assume that he or she is fine. All right, Mr. Sulaiman, once again, thank you very much for tonight. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your efforts. And everyone, let's react with our emoji just to appreciate Mr. Sulaiman for his time. He's actually doing this just for the sake of humanity, and is from his own personal time. So it's a good thing for us to appreciate him, and we are very, very happy to have you tonight. So once again, thank you, Mr. Sulaiman. Thank you, everyone. Let's meet at our regular time next week, Tuesday.
Thank you, Mr. Sulaiman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Take care of yourself. See
Thank
you.
you so much, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We
You're
appreciate
welcome.
you.
Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir.
Sir, please drop the notes in the group chat.
Sorry?
The note, is this in the group chat? Today's lecture is in the group chat.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the note is there.
It's there.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, sir.